back to my channel. I'm Sydney. I'm a writer, photographer, and silversmith living in Reno. And last week we went on an amazing adventure. I think it's probably going to stick with me for a long time, up to northeastern Nevada to observe the greater sage grouse. This week we're headed to the upper left-hand corner for some dark skies. Nevada is a pretty unbelievable stargazing destination where most rural spaces have no light pollution, which means that you can see millions of stars, planets, constellations, and from May through September, October, the Milky Way's galactic center is on full display. So you can see it banded across the Nevada sky. So we plan most of our summer months around the new moon phases to have the darkest night sky viewing chances possible. But right now there is some unusual solar activity happening, and you can see the aurora borealis or the northern lights from a lot of places in Nevada, but we're headed to the Black Rock. It's finally warm enough in northern Nevada we can bust out the camper for the season. Woo! You ready?
Listo.
Oh yeah. Black Rock or bust. And this week we're not staying in a hotel, and we can bring our good boy. Uggy, ready to go? Yes! Did you lock the fridge?
I think I locked it.
On a scale from 1 to positive.
I'd say like a 4 or 5.
Let's check. We're check. Hey, did you turn off your two-way radio or what?
No. You can't tell me what to do. Welcome to the Black Rock Desert. No speed limits, no stop signs. As long as what you're doing isn't illegal, nobody telling you no. The Black Rock Desert is 314,000 acres of public lands that behold one of the largest playas in the entire country, the Black Rock Desert Playa, or people who live in Nevada just call it the Playa because it's the biggest one. It's larger than the entire state of Delaware. And surrounding the playa are 23 individual mountain ranges. And in those, you can find some of the state's best rock hounding, public lands hot springs, old geode mines and fossil sites, and of course, some of the best camping experiences ever. So really, there is no ceiling when it comes to outdoor recreation in the Black Rock Desert. It's some of the best in the whole state of Nevada. But the stargazing out here is unreal because there's no light pollution from anywhere around. I mean, Reno is the closest major city. Winnemucca is over that way. But really, there's no light pollution up here. It's a Bortle Class 1 sky, which is the best dark sky viewing conditions that there are. So we came up here because you can see the natural curvature of the earth. It's so flat, and you can see the whole Milky Way band arced across the playa. But we also came up here because there's some crazy solar winds happening, and we're really hopeful of seeing the northern lights. We are up here after like a record snowfall precipitation year in the desert, and it's making us a little bit uneasy because the ground is kind of soft, but normally it's like super hard packed up here. But if the playa gets any kind of precipitation, it turns into this like peanut butter quicksand type of mud, and you will sink up to your axles in it, and there's no one's coming to save you. So we're just a little bit cautious, checking out the conditions before we drive our bajillion pound truck into it, because we don't want to be that guy. We decided that we're not really going to go much further because we came up here for some adventure, but I don't think we want that much adventure, do we, Jengi?
I'm not looking for a shovel.
No.
Adventure.
No.
Tonight.
I feel like half of the rural Nevada exploration time is knowing when to fold them, right?
Absolutely.
Knowing when to say no and turn back around. I think we
I've got the pedal down like pretty good right now. We're not going very fast.
we hit that right now. We're turning around and we are going back to
more solid ground.
solid ground. So we decided back there is good because man, it just keeps getting softer and softer in here, and you can tell water has ripped through here very recently. And sometimes it's really fun to look for desert relics because, you know, the basin fills up with water and carries them from one spot to another. So it's kind of fun, especially when our dog needs to go to the bathroom and we have to keep him on a leash because his nose will carry him into the hills. Yeah, so you can tell that some water has moved through here and recently, and it's carried all kinds of stuff through here. Like there's all kinds of Apache tears and pretty big chunks of obsidian, but yeah, this is like wet. Not driving a car, wet. So yeah, you can find all kinds of cool rocks and other relics. And sometimes if you're really lucky, you might even find an arrowhead. You found one, didn't you?
Did you find one?
Oh my God. Holy, that thing's freaking huge. That's like the biggest one I think I've ever seen.
That's definitely the most complete one.
Yeah.
Undeniable arrowhead for sure.
Oh my God, yeah, look at the notches in it. Wow. Dang it. You know that we have to leave it there. Oh, it's painful.
It's so very painful.
Oh,
It looks
man.
like, you know, it's so delicate though that like you could probably break it just by touching it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to freaking see though. That's definitely the coolest one we've ever come across.
It's just so cool thinking that the last time that somebody touched that could have been 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Seriously.
Could be thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Wow, what a find. So one of the reasons you unfortunately have to leave it right where you found it with all kinds of desert artifacts, that can include ghost town relics, any kinds of cultural artifacts. You have to leave it right where you found it because of the Desert Antiquities Act. I can't remember what year that was passed, but you can't do it because it's illegal for one, but also like look how cool that experience was that we just had. And that means that's one less experience for somebody else to come out here and have. And like cultural artifacts is in its own completely separate tier, but even ghost town relics, it's like, I don't know, I think about that all the time at places like Lehman Caves, where back in the day when cave tours were first open, the cave motto was, if you can break it, you can take it. And think of all the freaking times people probably went in grandma's attic and found this weird looking rock, not realizing that it was millions and millions of years of history from inside of a cave. So it's just like ends up in a box in someone's attic and nobody cares about what it is. It just has like the thrill of the moment, the brief moment, and then it just like sits around in your house and then nobody remembers what it was or where it came from, and it's just stupid. So it's a natural instinct to want to take that stuff, but you gotta just walk away. You gotta walk away. It's so hard, isn't it, Jang?
Impossible.
Oh man. But it is so cool. It doesn't take the rush of it away when you find it, that's for sure. It was a gorgeous sunset out here. Now it's time to set up camp. So we've had this Tacoma, I don't know, since 2017. And we slept in the back of the pickup truck. We had a camper shell and just a piece of plywood with a memory foam mattress, and we slept in that thing for 5 years up until last year. And our last trip was to Gold Butte, and man, it was a great memory for that to be our last in our old setup. We had that thing dialed. But we're old now, man, and sleeping on a piece of plywood, we just couldn't do it anymore. We'd get home from trips and be like, does your shoulder hurt? Yeah, my hip really hurts. I was like, does it feel like you slept on a piece of plywood for a week? Because we just did. So anyway, we had the opportunity to buy one of these. It's a Forest River Real Light pop-up truck camper. And it's a little deceiving because I was like, oh, it can drive anywhere the Tacoma can go. But it's definitely very heavy. It's not real light, it turns out. It's one of the lightest ones you can buy, but it's maxing out the Tacoma, that's for sure. Temperature's dropping, but let me give you guys a quick tour. So, pretty awesome because this turned our coffin-like sleeping conditions into a full-on living quarter. So this is the counter. We've got like some storage of pots and pans and stuff. There's a fridge. This breaks down into a table that you can have 2 people sit at, but we usually leave it like this as Elko's bed. 2-burner stove, little sink. We usually use this as like pantry storage. There's windows that go all the way around, which was a huge selling point for me because it is amazing in the summertime. There's a couple different fans. There is a heater, a hot water heater, yeah, and a queen size bed. So it's totally perfect for just the 3 of us, huh, Jang?
Yeah.
Well, we're out here trying to grab some long exposure shots. I don't see any aurora borealis. No northern lights going on that we can see, so maybe we missed it, maybe we're too early, I don't know, we can't see it yet. The moon is out and it is very bright. So it's blowing all the shots out, which is okay. I think it's supposed to go away around 3 a.m. and we're hoping we might be able to still get some really great Milky Way shots. So we're holding out for that. Okay, are you ready to shut it down? Yes, he's a good boy. Good night, Elkie. All right, well, it is 3 o'clock in the morning. The moon went down. It's considerably darker. As you can see, no aurora still. We got a new table, everybody.
They look like I hold it with 2 fingers.
Oh, is it lighter than a whole tree stump?
Only by about 50 pounds.
Well, we made it through the night. Neither of us really slept that great, did we?
No,
No, we didn't.
that'd be the air pressure.
It was cold. It was really cold. And I refused to turn the heater on because our CO2 detector is broken. And it was really cold and it was my fault. Well, we were kind of bust last night with the Aurora Borealis, but we did wake up and got some pretty amazing Milky Way action, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And we're out here on this beautiful playa, and we still got to see some Bortle Class 1 skies. And we're going to honor that with a black rock. We're out here. We're doing it. We got Elkie. Elkie's right here. Hi, bear. He's a hot dog. He needs to get in the shade. So we've got this piece of Viking turquoise, which is a black stone with some bright blue stripes in it. We were hoping that this would celebrate the Aurora Borealis, but we didn't quite luck out last night. So this also can duly honor some of the darkest skies in the American West country and world, which are found right here on the Black Rock Desert. So let's make it into a necklace. So the Bortle scale is a scale that measures the night sky's brightness from a particular place and quantifies the astronomical observability of celestial objects and the interference of light pollution. So a lot of Nevada night skies are on the Bortle scale. A couple of them off the top of my head are Berlin Ichthyosaur, Black Rock Desert, and it's interesting because it seems like as time goes on and we realize that light pollution is encroaching on our metropolitan cities and towns, people are realizing what a sacred resource truly dark skies are. And it's not just the darkness, but it's also this world of wildlife that a lot of times it can attract. Like out in Great Basin National Park, it's known for one of the darkest, quietest places, which attracts this world of wildlife that can thrive in their truest nocturnal sense out there. So I've always, Johnny and I have always loved the dark skies, but what a fascinating piece of information there, that it's not just the darkness out there that's savored, it's the quietness. And man, last night we could really feel that out here on the Black Rock. So the Bortle classification basically goes from scale 1 to 9. And the 1 areas are basically the ones that have the best stargazing conditions, like the Black Rock Desert. So the Black Rock Desert has the stargazing conditions of there's no light pollution and premier dark sky viewing. That's a Bortle scale 1. And then it goes all the way up to 9, which can go up to suburban inner city nighttime viewing where stars aren't visible at all. the Black Rock Desert is a Bortle scale 1, which means, this is super scientific, but zodiacal light is present, air glow is visible, there are shadows that you can see in the Milky Way, specifically surrounding Scorpius and Sagittarius constellations. And from the naked eye, with the naked eye, you can see all kinds of constellations, globular clusters, and you can see the M33, which is a spiral galaxy with the naked eye. But up here in the Black Rock Desert, you know, there's so much access to some of the best stargazing. Like I was saying yesterday, it's so cool because it's such a flat surface up here, and for a long distance. I mean, it just keeps going and going. Like I said, the playa surface is larger than the entire state of Delaware, that you can see the whole Milky Way band arcing across the sky, which is pretty cool. I think it's one of the only places in the state, and maybe one of the few places on the planet, where you can really see that full Milky Way band. And in Nevada, the galactic center comes out, well, in the northern hemisphere, the galactic center comes out in the summertime season, where you can really see all of those different like oranges and greens and stuff right in the middle, which is really cool because you can see it out here with the naked eye, but with your fancy camera and wide angle lens, you can see it even better. But one of the reasons that we like to come out here is to camp, because like, would you ever think that camping out here would be fun? Probably not. Probably the pioneers way back in the day would have thought we were freaking crazy, because this was one of the most desolate stretches of the California Trail. So what ran right through the desert right here was an offshoot of the California Trail called the Lassen Applegate Trail, which came right across this playa. If you know where Trego Hot Springs is, which is closer to Gerlach and definitely been overloved in the past few years, that was a stop. And then they would come up here, and if you can see right behind me in the distance over there, that is called Black Rock Point, and that's the namesake of the desert. And it was used as a wayfaring landmark by people long before the 49ers were coming to the gold fields. Native Americans or American Indians used this as a wayfinding point on the Black Rock Desert. And it's just truly that, a gigantic black rock formation that's back there in the distance. Beneath it is a hot spring that's a public lands hot spring that's not quite as loved as Trego, because you got to work a little farther to get there. I think you maybe have to drive like, I don't know, 25, 30-ish miles on the Black Rock Playa to get to it. That's the only way that you can reach it. But that was a legendary stop for a lot of pioneers back in the day, where they would drive their wagon trains across the playa, stop there for, you know, water for their cattle, obviously use it as a bathing opportunity, and then continue west that way, which goes up through Soldier Meadows, through High Rock Canyon, up towards where Massacre Rim is, and then over to Cedarville. And once they had made it through that part, then they were pretty much home free to the California goldfields. But this was one of the most treacherous stretches, to say the least, on the entire California Trail, or the offshoot of the California Trail, the Lassen Applegate. So over there at Black Rock Point, there is a gigantic hot spring pool. That is also where there's some, like I said, pretty significant pioneer history. There's an old Basque sheep herding wagon over there. There's a trail register that's provided by the BLM, and the hot spring itself is completely managed by the BLM, so public lands. But as you can imagine, they sometimes have a hard time checking on it and regulating it, because it's way the hell out here, and there's not enough money and budgets to create like management plans for over trafficking. So that one's remote. If you're in trouble all the way out here, help's a long, long way away. But man, if you can catch that one in the shoulder season, it's just about perfect. So the Black Rock Desert was made famous by Burning Man, which of course happens here every August, where 80,000 people and counting descend upon the Black Rock Desert for a week of partying in like some of the world's most inhospitable conditions. So of course it's fun for them, which is, like I said, I think the pioneers would think we were crazy if they could even see us just camping out here for fun today, let alone having the biggest party on earth there for a week. But we've been plenty of times, and it is really, really fun, and something that I think everybody should probably experience for themselves before they try to form their own opinion, because really there's so many different ways to experience Burning Man. But one of the other really famous things about the Black Rock Desert was experimental racing, like jet-powered supersonic cars. That happened here a lot before Burning Man, in the 80s and 90s, and even the early 2000s, where at one time this was the world's premier land speed setting arena. It's of course been replaced by the Bonneville Salt Flats now, which is where they have all the land speed racing, but it originally took place here in the Black Rock Desert. And the world's first and only supersonic car set the world record here back in 1997 at 763 miles per hour, and that is still the record. So I was telling you about last night how it's hard to feel how there's a ceiling out here, because there's just so much possibility of outdoor recreation in the Black Rock Desert. And that's literally the truth when it comes to amateur rocketeers, rocket builders out here in the Black Rock Desert, who come out here to take advantage of the Black Rock Desert's remoteness and uncontrolled airspace. So even though they're amateur, these rockets aren't launching a few thousand feet out here. These clubs from all over the world come here to build and test their rockets. They fly, hundreds of thousands of feet into the sky. So in 2014, civilian space exploration team earned the status space flight when they launched a rocket 72 miles into the sky, which is 380,000 feet, right here from the Black Rock Desert. So it's a bummer because, the land speed records, that's not happening here anymore. I think it has everything to do with the surface of the playa, and I think, it's just my opinion. How could tens of thousands of people really be good for that surface, despite how seriously you're embracing leave no trace? Like, that's probably impacted just the flatness of the playa. But also weather systems. There's been a lot more drastic wet years out here where, that was the reason last year that they couldn't have the Bonneville land speed records, because it had just rained so much. So, climate change is probably playing a pretty big factor there as well. I know that there used to be a giant rocket festival in Bonneville, but they don't have the same airspace clearance anymore because of the Salt Lake City airport. So this may be slowly converting into one of the last places where you really can be launching those rockets. And I know that for a time that was definitely part of the Black Rock Rendezvous, which is an event that they have out here in May at right around Memorial Day weekend. But other than that, as you can see, as long as you're not parked on a road or there's a clearly visible track, you can pretty much do whatever you want out here as long as what you're doing isn't illegal. So we were lucky enough to camp wherever the hell we wanted, stargaze, into the early morning hours, and pretty much do whatever we want out here, which is, in a country that's obsessed with freedom, pretty awesome. And with nobody else around, feels like you're on the moon. But I think one of my favorite things about coming out here, and this is not an original concept, obviously, it's why Burning Man takes place out here, is this is a really inspiring landscape. You can come out here and reset on so many different levels. But to me, that's one of the most amazing parts about the Black Rock Desert is it's just without sounding totally like a big fat eye roll, it's a land for dreamers. You can come out here and just really hit the reset button on so many different levels, and anything that you can really imagine is possible out here, from building amateur rocket ships to breaking and still holding the world record for the land speed, to making art exhibits, you know, installations larger than life out here. You know, you can make a polar bear art installation on the desert, which is what an artist has done. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. You could make a piece of silver out here if you wanted to. So it's really cool about the Black Rock Desert because it really is this place of infinite possibility. And it's not just for recreation, you know, anybody can really come out here and be inspired. And I know that the Friends of Black Rock is also offering an artist in residency program right now, which is pretty cool because they're looking for artists to come out here and be inspired by the landscape. But either way, I know I sure am. Here's my Black Rock pendant. As they say in showbiz.
That's a wrap, Jack.